Three, two, one.
Facebook.
No. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another edition of our weekly real estate backstory. My name is Alan Richardson. I'm the managing broker here at Max One Realty and Realtor Partners.
My name is Bing Richardson. I'm the compliance broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
And we do this every week, well, except for the last couple of weeks, where we just kind of go over the comings and goings, things happening in the real estate world. And so we want to jump right in, as far as like some local data here. And the first thing we want to share with you is that America's, there's a new list out there that gives us the top states for business in 2024. And Georgia comes in a very comfortable fourth highest, and that's based on infrastructure, workforce, economy, all that kind of stuff. And so that's a really great place for us to be, because when people have a lot of jobs, what else do? They buy houses, right? So that's the thing, and so that's just a really good thing for us to kind of have kind of across the board there. And at the same time, there's also another list
that talks about the major cities that saw the biggest year-to-year population gain.
And guess where Atlanta comes in?
Number one.
Number
It's
one.
Atlanta.
We are the top dog when it comes to that. So we have more people moving in. We're the fourth best state for business. This is just a really good place for us to be, and especially in the real estate world. Now, in addition to Atlanta, there's other states that are doing really well. Atlanta tends to be doing a lot better. But then who's doing poorly? And not that I'm trying to pick on anybody doing poorly, but, Philadelphia, New York, Memphis, California, these are where more people are moving from. So like setting up great referral networks with agents in those markets might be a really good idea, because more people are living there. Traditionally, and probably for the last 4 or 5 years, more people have moved to the Atlanta region from New York than anywhere else.
Correct.
I don't know where North Carolina came from. All right. Anyway, so at the same time, another study, and I'm full of studies today. Been told I'm full of it, but today we're going with full of studies. And so there's a ranking of the best cities for real estate agents. And so Atlanta comes in as the 8th best city in the United States for real estate agents. Why, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked, right? So overall average commissions, average commissions in Georgia are 2.88%. Nationally, they're a little bit lower than that. And so also we've seen very positive property value appreciation here, which our sellers absolutely love. And then also, like what sort of future home price growth are we looking at? Atlanta's also in a very comfortable place. We don't really see price growth going nuts right now, because we have seen inventory, and we'll show you what's going on with inventory in just a minute. But inventory is increasing. So but overall, nationwide, when you look at all the different markets in the U.S., Atlanta comes out really, really strong on what's happening with our marketplace, where we really sit there.
Absolutely.
All right. So they just released some new information, and the consumer price index, inflation, is come down. And so we are really, really pleased to see inflation comes down, because what happens when inflation comes down, man?
House affordability is much, much better.
Well,
interest rate.
Interest rate, thank you. So interest rates come down, and so with the interest rates dropping, we saw a slight drop this week. We're expecting even more next week, because most of the financial information is very positive when it comes in terms of inflation. Inflation really does drive interest rates, and so we're very excited to kind of see that going on. The other thing we got going on is, like we're in a presidential election year. And if you look at what happened, 8 of the last 11 presidential elections,
we always have dropped our interest rate.
Prior
to election.
And we are in the prior to. So like the bad part here is we all have to put up with a bunch of political ads and a bunch of finger pointing and a lot of folks going back and forth. The good news is it normally results in lower interest rates. So we're kind of glad to see that.
So for the housing market, we're not apolitical. We're just glad to see the interest rate drop.
Yeah. We're not Republican, Democrat, nothing. We don't go there at all. There's no point, because all it would do would be offend half of you one way or the other. We hope that you take that same approach. Absolutely. As well. So overall, consumer sentiment actually improved. Now, when you look at this graph, you don't think it's really improved, but it actually, like if you look at like is it a good time to buy? folks, we're starting to see it kind of turn around, in part because we are seeing interest rates coming down. We're also seeing inventory increases on a large scale. And those interest rates, is even though we may look at the interest rates and think, okay, it's not that great from where it was. It actually represents a very significant impact for our buyers. Home buyers on a $3,000 monthly budget have already gained $20,000 in purchasing power just since when the mortgage rates were their highest. In the spring, we had some of the highest rates. We
Over
first we were down, then
7.
we were up into the low sevens and even mid sevens, and now we're coming back down. And already that represents about a $20,000 impact. And lately we keep seeing interest rates coming down, that improves the buying power for our buyers so much. So really be very conscious about what's happening with interest rates right now, because you know who else is being very, very conscientious about what's going on with interest rates? Your buyers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
It's affordability at the end of the day.
yeah. So at the same time, though, we have more and more of our homeowners that don't have a mortgage at all. And these are folks that don't care what the interest rates are. I know it sounds bad, but like seriously, they couldn't give a flip because their home is 100% paid off. And so they will more than likely, if they choose to sell, they can buy all cash and just carry that
Or
equity
bulk
forward.
of it cash and get a super duper interest rate because their risk assessment
Yeah.
is very minimal.
Yeah. All right. Let's change gears a little bit here. And
Okay.
so FMLS has just released, all of our MLSs don't do our local MLSs, Georgia MLS, FMLS, that kind of stuff. They don't normally do a lot when it comes to commercial property lists. It just really isn't. And so FMLS is doing something new where when you do list commercial property in FMLS now, it will start showing up on Crexy. And so for the folks who, I guess we call them resi-mercial, residential agents that kind of dabble in the commercial
arena,
please make sure your commercial properties are listed in FMLS, because now you're automatically going to be getting exposure on Crexy. And it's not the same as LoopNet, but it's still
not
pretty good. So, but and for what it costs, I mean, it's going to increase your exposure a lot on that.
Absolutely.
So take advantage of that. All right. Social media. We know social media is really important, right? We know that it's impactful. It doesn't mean that it has to be the end all be all. We have just a ton of agents that don't do anything on social media, but we also have some folks who do phenomenal on social media. So it's just like any other lead source that you're utilizing. And so now there's some new information talking about the different social media platforms and what's most popular
and utilized
by age group. And see, this is important because like one thing that we've been teaching and trying to coach our folks on is, look, you want to make sure that you have a target client. You have to understand who that target client is. And then you want to talk about how can I engage and reach that target client. And so what we're looking at here, so Gen Z, what does Gen Z use the most of?
TikTok.
Well, actually,
Snapchat,
Instagram's number one.
Yep.
Instagram
Instagram's
is
always
number one for Gen Z. And so Instagram, followed by TikTok, Snapchat, and then Facebook. Facebook is really kind of dragging the boat, or
when it comes to that generation.
When it comes to our youngest buyers and sellers. Now, millennials still Instagram is number one. So if you're looking for first time buyers, what platform should you really be utilizing? Instagram's where you need to be looking, because our first time buyers, the biggest bulk of them is going to be Gen Z and Facebook. So after after Instagram on millennials, then Facebook. What? Everyone thought, well, Facebook's supposed to be for old people like us, right? No. Facebook is number two, right behind Instagram. Then we jump into TikTok. Then we go over into YouTube. YouTube starts jumping up in there. Now, Gen Xers, we are very comfortable in Gen Xers. We are Gen Xers, right? Yeah, we are the feral generation, right? And so what do we use most? Facebook. Yeah, we're Facebookers. Yeah, like that
and
kind
we
of
dabble
stuff.
into Instagram after that, and YouTube, and then TikTok being the last.
We will scroll through and watch the videos there. Now, for our boomers, hey, boomer, what are you watching? Well, number one, still Facebook, right? So Facebook is really strong for our older generations out there.
And then YouTube.
Yep.
Because they do a lot of research, like, how do I do this? And guess what? YouTube has all the channel with video instructions.
Yeah. So we just want you to be conscious of like, if I'm trying to reach first time buyers, I really want to make sure that I'm looking at Instagram, TikTok, um, those kind of things, much more so than maybe I am necessarily Facebook. I'm not saying Facebook is bad, but it kind of depends on who
What
you're
your
trying to reach.
Yeah, who your markets are. So
Yeah.
understand your market and how to reach them is important.
And that's all we really want you to understand on this is that, just be smart in what you're marketing, because sometimes we see things that just doesn't make sense. Like, really shouting out a bunch of first time buyer stuff on a platform that's not heavily utilized by first time buyers. It's not going to hurt you. Probably
But
not
it doesn't
going
do
to, it's not
anything
going to do a
for
lot
you.
to really be like,
Correct.
wow, look at what it's done for us. All right. So we want to talk about jumping into the sales side of things and
Hmm.
delisting activity. And so delisting activity, these are properties that where our sellers listed the property and then said, you know what,
Take it off the market.
we give up, kind of thing. And
Well, sometimes it's not necessarily we give up. Sometimes it's that when they have to sell in order to buy, and then realize,
yeah,
oh heck, we can't afford to buy because what we currently have is good enough, and we don't want that monthly payment.
right. Well, and one thing that we've been looking at was our delisting activity was really high. And then we actually dug a little bit deeper. And what
Hmm.
we found out is, you know what? It's seasonal, right? Delisting activity, we're kind of in now. We are higher than we have been in the past, but we aren't like ridiculously high on the delisting activity. And that's a very important aspect, because right now new listings are up, and they're up significantly. And so there were concerns from us that we're going to see all this new inventory and then a larger percentage be delisted. And what we're seeing is it is a little bit higher, but it's also somewhat normal, right? We're getting back into seasonal trends, which is nice, because overall active listing count nationwide is up 36% just on total active listings. Now, here in the Atlanta area, active listings are up 58%. So total inventory, new, how many listings we had this year versus how many listings we had last year, up 58%. At the same time, we got 22% of our sellers, of our listings, that have had a price reduction. So when you tie all that in together, we are looking at much more inventory than we had like this time last year.
Well, and unfortunately, some seller are still stuck in the pandemic where the inventory go immediately as soon as you list it, and that the increase was substantial. That's not the case right now. It is very much a kind of usually it's a 6 month inventory, and we're currently around a little over two, almost 3 months.
3.6,
Is it three point
3.7.
six?
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that said, because the interest rate it has driven the demand down a little bit because of affordability. So don't list too high, because when you list too high, your home will be sitting in the market for a while. Not only that, you will start taking a
Yeah.
price cut.
I mean, 40% of our listings are under contract in 2 weeks, and
You list this
and
correctly.
then 22%
Yeah.
end up
Has a
having to take a
reduction.
price reduction. So the folks who are listing the good properties in good areas, priced right, are going quickly.
Yes.
Overpriced homes sit there, and you have to take a price reduction, and it ends up costing your sellers more in the long run.
Correct.
So let's try this now. So even though we just showed you where 58% of our inventory is up 58% this year over last year, and that number seems scary, right? It seems like, oh my goodness, we have a major correction going on. At the same time, we want to look at, how about now versus say pre-pandemic.
Pre-pandemic,
Yeah.
what the inventory looks like.
And that's a very different story, right? Because like if you look at us compared to historical norms, a lot of folks just think inventory is supposed to be this ridiculously low way. It is. That's not true. If you compare us to where our total inventory now versus pre-pandemic, we are still down 32%. So we're down almost a third less than what we had just on the market pre-pandemic. And by the way, pre-pandemic was still a seller's market. Here in Georgia, we it was still a seller's market even at 32% down from where we are now. So yes, we're seeing inventory increase. That's a really great thing to be sharing with our buyers. We're
Absolutely.
seeing mortgage rates come down. A great thing for our buyers. For our sellers, they've got to be realistic on price. We have to be able to use our competitive market analysis. Equity assessments kind of show them what a buyer's willing to pay for them.
Absolutely.
All right. So overall, pending sales. This is another one we wanted to talk about because everyone's kind of disgruntled about pending sales, and I'm not trying to say that I'm happy about pending sales, but what I'm looking at is let's look at what's really going on normally, right? We saw 2021, 2022 really elevated levels, right? If you took out 2021 and 2022, the end of 2020 and last 2 or 3 years, 2.5 years out, and you just compared us to where we were pre-pandemic, and you looked at our market versus our pending sales this year versus those years, what do you think?
We're still higher.
You're right, and so I'm not saying that we're happy with where it is. I know we'd like to get back to those inventory levels, and we know a lot of that's depressed, just because we have a lot of buyers that want to jump into the market right now. So I'm with you, but we're not like in bad shape, is what I'm saying. Like understand that there's a lot to be
To be
actually,
said
yeah,
about what the market's doing right now.
yeah,
So buyers still buying. It's just that it's not as aggressive due to the interest rate.
yeah. Now, one thing I keep hearing about here is because we've seen so many, we have this rise in inventory. Well, surely there's going to be a lot of foreclosures coming out.
Actually, one of my agents asked me yesterday, say, why am I seeing all these industrial sellers selling off their property?
Well,
It's not an REO. It's the industrial sellers.
and some of them are selling out just for cash out equity purchases. But
Uh-huh.
what, overall, one thing that has just come out, foreclosure activity for the first half of 2024 is down. Yeah, it's down. It's not up. It's
One last year.
well, but if you look at ever since like 2008, and you look at what our foreclosure activity is, if you were to take out the year where we had foreclosure moratoriums, eviction moratoriums, where you couldn't kick somebody out if you wanted to, you couldn't foreclose if you wanted to. If you took that year out and you just looked at this data and said, "Oh my goodness, we are at some of the lowest levels of foreclosure ever."
Well, if you also look at it, the number 177,431 for this year versus pre-pandemic, which was 296,458. So we're still much less
Yeah.
than what the average norm.
Yeah, we do see investors doing things in different areas, and if we were to have do a real estate backstory on commercial, I promise you it'd be a very very
Hmm.
different conversation that we're having
Absolutely.
because the commercial markets are not the same. So industrial sellers, things like that, they're doing their reasons for doing things are sometimes based on what's happening on Wall Street. Sometimes
And
it's based
sometimes
on the
it's about
economy
having
and
the
different
cash
things. Yeah,
availability,
yeah.
honestly, so they can invest on a larger product immediately without the waiting time.
Yeah, but just understand that with the equity gains that we've had, if and like we don't know anybody that's upside down on a property. More than likely you don't either. And if somebody does end up in a bad financial situation, if the
That
economy
has
hits them,
bought 3 years ago
they're
or
just going to
more.
sell and they're going to cash that equity out. So the idea that there's this rise in foreclosures coming and that kind of stuff, it's just not
And this does
not
not
happening.
apply to someone that has bought within the last 12 months,
Yeah.
just so you know.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So now, in speaking of the investor markets, that kind of stuff, now there is new information out that apartments are filling up at its slowest pace since pre-pandemic.
2020.
Yeah, since the pandemic kind of thing. And why that's impactful is because that's going to be one of those numbers that helps to drive inflation down. Housing costs, because when apartments, when vacancies go
Hmm.
down, rents come down. And when rents come down, that's going to help some of those
The
inflation
buyer,
numbers on
well,
there.
that and buyer to save up more money so they can
Yeah.
purchase.
All right. We want to invite you guys to please join us on for our accountability top 50 that we do every Monday, directly following this. So every Monday at 9:30 we meet. We go over all of our accountability items. Yes, I will put you on the spot, and I mean that with love. That kind of stuff.
Well, that's part of the accountability
Yeah.
if you think about it. If you're not accountable, then you're probably not going to get any production out of it.
Everyone likes accountability when it's not them.
That's true.
You know,
And everybody like to hear everybody else's story. So
Yep.
it's not necessarily story, but method of what they done that worked and succeeded, and also any negative, just so the agent can avoid a pitfall.
Yeah. So so every week we kind of go over the top 50 program, what it is. We go over the goals. We have a KV core tip of the week, and then I go over a different lead source or different thing. This week I'm going to be going over. We're going to be utilizing ChatGPT as far as that discussion goes. But please join us. Feel free. You can go to max1.rock/accountability. You can log in on your phone. You can log in on your computer. You can come into our office,
We would
right?
love to see you.
But the whole bottom line is, please come in. Like this is here to help you grow your business. So please take advantage of that, not in a negative way, but like get up now. You don't have to have your screens on.
No,
okay,
we're not gonna make
I don't
you
like
show your
like if the hair's a mess. I don't care, but I will. I do want to hear you, right? And so like don't worry about putting your hair on, that kind of stuff, but do jump in and try and get your week started off. That's really what it is.
Absolutely.
Now we have Success Summit coming up, August
Very.
27th, 28th, 29th. Please, please, please consider joining us. And so if you want to join, so you can sign up in any of our offices. If you'll go to max1.rocks/Tom Ferry, that's where you go to sign up. So just like you can go to max1rocks/accountability, you can go to max1.rocks/Tom Ferry, and you can sign up there and then to sign up in any of our classes. It's a 3-day event. Every day you get 6 hours of continuing education credit for that day, and it's just a really like I don't even know how many. We've done it for forever, it seems like. And
I think it's 9 years running now.
9 or 10,
yeah,
I don't know.
It's 9 years.
But we've really gotten a lot out of it over all these years doing it, and it's just a really positive experience. Yes, it takes some time out of your day, out of your business, but this is an investment in you, and you're worth it. So, all right, this week coming up. So on Tuesday, we have Miss Nella is going to be teaching Code of Ethics in Spanish. Now, if you don't speak Spanish, you can come, but you won't know what they're saying. So it's going to be Code of Ethics in Spanish. It's going to be in our Fayetteville office. On Wednesday is building a CMA with Connect MLS. Now, what are you teaching on Thursday?
Mid-year guard contract, and a lot of us have a lot of confusion on the way the mid-year contract is worded. So please come join us, because we have a lot of nuggets and how the guard contract was interpreted. This is what I consider a patch job at this time until 2025 form committee get their stuff in line. So, but there's a couple of questions already raised about the wording of it. But once again,
this is what we got right now. You got it for another 6 months. So
yes, come at 10, and so you know what you're practicing.
Now, Ming is teaching that in Carrollton. We've been teaching the guard contract changes almost weekly, every single week. I think for the next 3 weeks. So if you can't catch the one Thursday with her in Carrollton, catch it the following week. But get what you need. Now, at the same time as she's teaching, I'm teaching, which is kind of weird. We don't normally teach on the same day. I'm going to be in the McDonough office. I'm going to be teaching making money with real estate investing and how we like to invest, and kind of teach you the who's, wins, where's, what's, and that kind of thing.
Yep.
So we hope you guys had a great week. If we can be of any kind of service, please call, text, smoke signals, and have a great week, everybody.
Thank you, and happy Monday.
Bye-bye.